We'll start with David Ubben.
Hey, Trey, what has it been like, going out to practice and seeing, the lack of numbers you guys have had? What has that experience kind of been like for you guys?
Every time in football, you might have challenges. People go down due to injury and different things. And a lot of times Coach Pruitt, Coach Friend, all of our coaches teach is a next man up mentality. So, when that opportunity presents itself in a way, it's another opportunity for someone to prove themselves on the field. It's always hard when you don't have a lot of numbers, but at the end of the day, it's football. We got to get work done. We got to prepare for South Carolina, and that's not going to stop us from our goal.
We'll go to Brent Hubbs, followed by Trey Wallace.
Trey, can you compare to what this camp for you personally has been like, maybe compared to last year's camp and the unknowns, and then just kind of for you individually, what's the last 4 or 5 months been like trying to figure out for you what's the best decision for you to make in terms of playing football?
Yeah, this has probably been the weirdest camp I've ever been a part of. Traditionally speaking, every year I played football, especially at this level. Camp is an everyday thing. Being able to do it how we're doing it now and we're spaced out with the season getting pushed back, I'd say it's helped out a lot in terms of development and being able to watch film and get better at certain things. In terms of myself, I came back to Tennessee for a reason, to prove myself and to prove that I can play at a high level consistently. So not really a hard decision.
Trey, what have you seen out of the younger offensive line group? I know you guys have a nice little veteran situation going on, but the younger guys that have come in, maybe Devontae Spraggins, can you talk about them a little bit and what they've been able to learn from you guys?
Yeah, younger guys, we have a really great offensive line room dynamic right now. We have a lot of players that want to get better, a lot of players that want to be great, a lot of players that want to dominate and push the ball in the SEC, which is what we're going to have to do at the end of the day. In terms of younger guys, I definitely say Sprags definitely left an impression on me. He has a love for the game that a lot of times younger players have when they first get to college, a certain passion of wanting to be great, doing the right things, trying to be consistent. He has a lot of things he has to learn, but as a freshman, who doesn't at that point? But Sprags really reminds me a lot of a guy who taught me everything I knew when I was a freshman, Ja'Shawn Robertson, in terms of how he plays the game, how he attacks the game, and how he presents himself on a daily basis. And I'll just be honest, the future is very bright for him if he keeps on that path.
We'll go to Rick Russo, followed by Blake Topmeyer.
Hey, Trey, with players being in and out of practice, 2 questions. One, what is your confidence level of how this team can perform 1 week from Saturday at South Carolina? And how important has it been for you, Trey, to continue being a driving force both on the field and especially off the field, leading your team out in the community?
Yeah, I'm very confident in this team and our standing. Once again, we still have a lot of work to do. Myself, I have a lot of work to do. I'm still messing up on simple stuff. That's unacceptable at this level. But in terms of just getting to that point on Saturday with South Carolina, we'll be there. We'll be ready to play regardless of who we play. For me, just leading off the field in any situations, anything I can do to positively impact the community, I won't hesitate to do it. And, it's really important to me to do those type of things as well.
Thanks, man.
Blake?
Hey, Trey. A lot of professional athletes have knelt in protest of police brutality and systemic racism during playing in the national anthem. Typically, college football players are not on the field during the national anthem. Do you think college football players should be allowed to be on the field during the anthem? And have you thought about what you would do if you were on the field during the anthem?
Yeah, quite frankly, like you said it the best, we're not on the field for the national anthem. So, not really much we can do about that. But that's pretty much it for that.
We'll go to Jimmy Himes, followed by Rob Lewis.
Trey, a couple things. One, has it been hard to build a chemistry on the offensive line with so many linemen out? And secondly, you said this was an easy decision for you to come back to Tennessee. And I wonder, how many people did you consult with about any impact COVID-19 might have on you personally?
Well, that's pretty simple. With the offensive line, in terms of continuity, I don't think there's been a time that I've been here that the same offensive line has consistently played next to each other for weeks or months. So in terms of that, it's just a simple matter of fact of doing what the coach tells you to consistently, doing your job consistently, and being ready to play. Because quite frankly, with COVID-19, the issues that come from it, arise from it, a lot of people are going to play a lot of positions that naturally and traditionally they've never played before. So continuity is definitely going to be an issue, but I don't think it's just going to be an issue here. It's going to be an issue across the country due to the nature of this virus. So once again, it's just going to come down to us doing well and completing what the coaches tell us to. In terms of me, my health personally, I mean, people in my age group, there are actual standards of how they're affected. I'm not affected any differently. Quite frankly, I've reading up on it. I believe COVID-19 can cause blood clots. So if a regular person gets COVID-19, they're at a higher risk for blood clotting disorder than I am, due to the nature of what I actually take my medicines. So,
Trey, I know chemistry has been an issue with so many guys missing, but how much of a benefit is it for you personally? How much easier is it to be playing with the same offensive coordinator for the first time in a while for 2 consecutive years?
I think it makes a huge difference. I know I was thinking about certain things like after the year, I'm picking up on the way certain things play out and just thinking about not having to really think in depth when I'm actually playing. And sometimes I can play naturally and just do things without even, fully thinking it out. It sounds weird just to say that, but it's really the first time. It's weird. It's the first time I've had that happen since like high school. So my relationship with Coach Chaney is really good. I trust him. I understand the plays, what he's trying to accomplish. And I think as a team and as a unit, it's just going to help us out even more having that consistency, especially for Jarrett, just having that consistent offense that he can work on, develop. It's going to be great for our unit. It's going to be great for our team. I'm very excited about where we're going, where we're headed.
We'll go to Patrick Brown and then Gustavo.
Hey, Trey, a couple things. First of all, how much more are you getting to practice? You mentioned this being a weird preseason for you. Are you getting to practice more than you did all of last season? I think you only went through 2 or 3. And second question, I know you were obviously excited to play with Cade going into this season. How is that sort of process? Has it been frustrating for you just to see him go through that, and kind of where is your kind of stance on that situation?
Yeah, so in terms of me being able to practice, I've been practicing a lot more this year. Obviously, I think last year I practiced only 2 times the entire year, full pad practice, and that was one of those actually counted for the bowl game, in Jacksonville. So I've been able to practice a lot more full pad. Obviously, with my position, that does nothing but helps you out, So I'd say I'm a lot further than I was around this time last year in terms of my skill and my development. So been very thankful and thanking God for that. In terms of Cade, man, I always wanted to play with Cade since high school. I remember talking about Mr. Football, different things like that, following each other over the years, staying connected. And then finally we get to the point where he came back home. He's at Tennessee. We're going to play with each other. And then, see a decision that's basically trying to shoot down the hard work and discredit this kid who, at the end of the day, I mean, he's coming to work every day. He's busting his butt. He's going to practice. I mean, the people who are making these decisions are just sitting in the meeting room, just drinking coffee and just looking at paper. So it's really asinine to say the least, man. We're talking about a season where eligibility doesn't even matter. You're not going to clear this kid. So at the end of the day, man, we can only focus on what we can focus. We can control the controllables that we can control. The people eating in meeting rooms and wearing suits and walking around all day don't want to clear this kid who's busting his butt, bleeding, sweating, getting hit on the field consistently. That's their choice and that's their option, But at the end of the day, do right by a kid who's working hard, working his butt off and trying to be great. That's how I look at it.
Thanks.
Gustavo?
Trey, a lot of people mention your leadership, on and off the field, and how much, for you, players look up to you, and how much you have to show leadership in terms of keep guys, discipline with COVID on and off the field, so the chemistry can develop better in terms of a roster.
Yeah, I mean, it's a daily challenge. Just being honest with you, I mean, there's so many factors that can come into play in terms of COVID-19. It's a little bit overwhelming when you think about it. Coach Pruitt always tells us the best thing you can do to protect yourself, fellas, is wear your mask and stay away from the general population a lot of times. And he's absolutely right. If you wear your mask, the chances and probability of you getting COVID-19 decreases exponentially. But on top of that, as players, we have to basically do our own job as well and create our own bubble. Just try to create our own population, stay away as much as possible. And, we have a goal, which is to play this season, to play this entire season as well. And if the goal matches that, you would want to jeopardize your team or your teammates. And at the end of the day, I have to do a better job, policing it, but we all just have to do a better job. And it's teamwork at the end of the day. It's all teamwork. It's all of us as players to make sure we don't jeopardize ourselves in this program by going out and doing certain things that puts it in jeopardy.
We'll go back to Brent Hubbs and then back to David Ubben.
Trey, two things. One, does it feel like game week is almost here? And does that seem almost like a reality given everything that the last few months have been, for one? And two, mentally, how do you help your guys and how do you handle the unknowns that still remain out there? We're seeing games around the country get canceled the week of the game or things like that. How do you handle the fact that there's always that possibility kind of in the back of your mind or in the background that's possible?
Yeah, I mean, mentally, nothing feels like reality anymore. You look around, I was like playing Xbox last night with my friends, and I was like, oh, well, the Titans are playing. It's weird. We had NFL football for the first time in a long time. Obviously, college football played. I don't think it's ever going to feel normal until it's actually game down in the hotel, eat my pregame meal, and I'm ready to go out there. And even then, without fans, it might still not feel normal. What was the other question? I'm sorry.
Just how do you handle the potential that it doesn't happen? That narrative is kind of never completely out of your mind.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like I said earlier, even with the Cade situation, control the controllables, man. We have no control over that unless it's protecting ourselves, not putting our team in jeopardy. Just making sure we're healthy. If they decide to play this season, we'll be ready to play. If they decide it's not safe or we can't play this season, then we'll accept that and go right back to work because that's what we can control. At the end of the day, we got to control our effort, our attitude, and how we come out and how we prepare every day. Because if we do play, we're going to be ready.
David?
Trey, when you're back, you're coming out to practice, what are the things that you are focusing on and trying to get better at specifically in camp?
Yeah, there's a lot. For me, pad level, leverage, angles of departure, coming out of my stance. I have a bad habit of doing certain things like that. Being under control of my body. And I say that a lot of times in pass protection, I see myself overextending and lunging a little bit too much. So really there's a lot of things, and most of it's just body control and body movements. But I mean, quite frankly, when this is the only time you're going against a moving live body full speed, you might get sloppy, you might get tired, you might have issues because you just haven't felt that before. But quite frankly, I'm knocking off the rust every time I step out on the field, and I'm feeling more confident every time I step out on the field. But I'll be honest, it's a hard process because it's something I haven't done in really 2 years. You think about the amount of practice I've been doing.
We'll go to Wes Rucker and then back to Blake.
Trey, I know that you've always been a mature guy in terms of even when you came in as a freshman, but a lot of these guys, it's their first time away from home, and there's always temptation to want to go do stuff. How do you make sure as a senior on this team, and I know you mentioned this a little bit earlier, how do you make sure these guys are doing what they need to be doing and that they're not taking any chances?
Yeah, man. That's a hard thing because at the end of the day, I'll tell you it's wrong. I'm not anyone's dad or parent. I'm not around them 24/7 providing. You know what I mean? I have to have enough faith and I have to trust them enough that they'll do the right things. Now, in terms of if we see you doing the wrong things, it's going to get addressed as a team. Now, if you keep doing the wrong things, it's going to get addressed at the next level. But, it all falls into trust, man, because at the end of the day, I'm just not around them 24/7. And like I think I said earlier, it's just so many variables with COVID-19 of how you can contract it, how you can get it, and how you can put yourself in jeopardy. It's too hard to micromanage, just too hard to follow. So I think once again, we got to rely on what Coach Pruitt's told us, wear your mask, be safe, and don't put yourself in situations that would jeopardize yourself or this team.
And what about with Cade? You mentioned what he's going through right now. Have you seen that affect him at all? I mean, I know you saw that last year, I guess, with Aubrey Solomon and his situation with Michigan. Have you seen this affect Cade in any way?
No, say Cade's a tough dude, man. I mean, why? In our mentality, man, why let that affect how he comes every day, how he works? You know, I mean, he's gonna, like I said, regardless of what they decide, this man's coming to work every day, grinding every day, sweating every day, bleeding every day, hitting every day, regardless of what they decide. So, you know, in those terms, like I said, for people who are just sitting up, making decisions in air-conditioned rooms and suits, you make that decision. But he's coming to work every day regardless.
Trey, with Jameer Johnson, what's it been like when you've been working next to him? Do you feel like you guys have kind of ironed out a good rhythm together? And two, have you seen any areas maybe where he's progressed his game from where he was last season?
Yeah, Philly's my guy, man. Philly's a dog. In terms of like a guy you want to go to war with, like you want that foxhole with you, Philly's up there. I played with him a lot last year. I even played with him a lot in 2018. We actually had roles reversed. I was a tackle, he was a guard. And the thing about Jameer Johnson that you're going to get every time is intensity and violence. And I love that. You know, anytime I'm going to hem somebody up, I know Philly's about 2 steps behind me, about to knock him out, you know. And I love playing next to a guy that physical, a guy who wants to, you know, punish people right beside you, you know, the same way, same mental makeup that you have. And, you know, Philly has a very bright future. We're talking about an extremely athletic guy in terms of what he can do, especially at the tackle position. I mean, it's fun to watch him, honestly. It's fun to just see what he puts on tape every day.
All right, 3 questions left. We'll start with Austin, go to Jimmy, and then finish with Trey Wallace.
Trey, you're talking about, you know, the mentality. You've had that mentality since you first got here. But do you feel like that as a whole, this offensive line room has almost adopted that? There are more guys with the mentality you just talked about with Jameer, Cade, I know is a similar type guy like that. And then 2, when you sit back and watch some NFL football this weekend, if you're able to, was there anybody you were particularly watching on the offensive line that you enjoyed to just kind of scope out?
Yeah, in terms of like the mental makeup of this offensive line, I think it's one of the first lines other than 2017. I know because I mean we were trying to get after it too, but this is probably one of the first lines that I've seen a large amount of guys really trying to like put someone on their back and like try to do it consistently. I mean, it's awesome to see. It's awesome to see how Coach Friends coached us to this point and seeing how his coaching techniques have finally started to come through. And we were starting to realize the purposes and schemes of these plays as well. I think this line has a great potential because of our makeup. You know, mentally, we have a lot of guys that are trying to get after your butt every play. In terms of like watching folks this Sunday, I wasn't able to actually watch a game because at my apartment I don't have my cable set up yet, so shame on me. But I was watching a lot of like younger guys that were in the draft class last year. I know I paid attention to Andrew Thomas. I saw Trent Williams kill a guy, which is on par for him. Saw Jadeveon Clowney get after a little bit last night, but in terms of that, you know, I was just watching younger offensive tackles and you know, guard players that started for the first year.
Trey, I don't know how patient you are, but has it been hard for you to watch NFL or watch other college teams play while you have not been able to get on the field yet?
No, no, it really hasn't been that bad for me. I was just intrigued to see what they look like, especially at the college level. I thought the NFL looked really, really good. Sometimes I didn't think they really skipped a beat. You know, you wouldn't even tell there's a pandemic. I mean, you watch Aaron Donald, my God. But, you know, I really didn't really feel any type of way. I just know my time's coming regardless on both levels. So just whenever my time comes, I just need to be ready so I can perform my best.
Last question, Trey Wallace.
Trey, what have you seen out of Jarrett Guarantano compared to maybe last season where it got off to a little bit of a rough stretch for him, but the way he was able to bounce back? Now going into a spring that you didn't have, but voluntary workouts and fall camp, where have you seen the steps he has taken to become a better quarterback?
Yeah, I would definitely just say control. You know, JG has a good control of this offense. Once again, as we stated earlier, the same with me. Probably the first time we've been in an offensive system that's been consistent for 2 years. So naturally, there's going to be growth right there. And in terms of that, I'd say leadership. He's been able to take command a lot of times. Has a really good, firm grasp knowledge of the offense. So right now, I mean, the way things are working out, I mean, Jarrett's playing very well. He's going to prepare for the season. I'm really excited for his future because it's nothing but bright.